Welcome back. In this video, I will share with you all the ways you're blocking your manifestation potential and how you can tweak certain parameters in what you're doing in order to get in your manifestation flow. By the end of this video, you're going to know the exact things that you're doing wrong that are preventing your manifestations from coming through and what you should be doing instead. What you need to be aware of before we start is that there is a great change happening in the world today. More and more people are awakening to a greater reality, and more people are understanding how to harness this change in the collective consciousness. Our current systems of belief are breaking down, and new paradigms are emerging. We are realizing with greater and greater speed that we are immortal spiritual beings living a finite human experience, and that everything around us is being affected by the way we interact with it. Think of it as a dance with the universe. We're dancing with the universe, right? What you need to start realizing in order to start unblocking your manifestation potential is that what you perceive to be the truth is just a learned pattern that has been reinforced through experience and has been incorporated into your biological self, which you now wear as a shield of armor, basically. The brain is very reactive to anything new. It's reactive to creating new neural pathways and getting out of its little box. And it's resistant to changing unless things get really bad and you're so uncomfortable that you can no longer function as you usually do. This is why, more often than not, people change as a result of some sort of crisis, as a result of disease, or some other type of tragedy. The point I'm trying to make here is that your mind will react and put up a real shit show when you try to teach it some other way of functioning or of being in the world. But the first thing that I want you to know is that all truths are true. Give up the idea that you know something. There are no absolutes. Let me give you an example. You lash out at a colleague, and when you're later reviewing the scene, you're either envisioning an innocent victim of circumstance who was blatantly provoked and had no option but to lash out, or you're envisioning an atrocious devil lashing out at an innocent bystander who just happened to be in the way. Which truth is true? The answer is all of them. All truths are true. And not just those two opposite ends of a spectrum, but all the in-between states as well. This concept is actually backed up by the findings in the field of quantum physics. After physicists discovered that at the subatomic level, the elements that made up the atom did not obey the laws of classical physics, they understood that electrons, which make up the atom, behaved in unpredictable ways. They actually observed these electrons gaining and losing energy, appearing and disappearing, showing up all over the place without adhering to the boundaries of time and space. And guess what? Subatomic particles like electrons make up absolutely everything in nature. But this is not the most important takeaway. What quantum physics managed to prove was that the person observing these tiny particles affected their actual behavior. Through different experiments, we saw that electrons simultaneously exist in infinite possibilities, and the possibility that is more prevalent is the one which the observer will put his attention on. This is the specific point in time when all of the possibilities in which the electrons exist collapse into a single physical observable event. So what that shows is that mind and matter are not two separate things. They are interrelated and they affect each other because the mind produces measurable effects on the objective, observable physical world. So think about it. Could you actually manipulate and observe the life that you want? If subatomic particles that make up everything in existence exist in an infinite number of possibilities at the same time, can we actually pick the possibility that we desire and simply observe it into reality? This is why I said at the beginning, all truths are true. And when you actually realize it and accept it and start utilizing it, you can pick the truth that best serves you. So this one thing is important. You need to process that. An amazing book that lays down these principles that you can read if you're interested in going into depth into these concepts. It is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Highly recommended. The second thing that you need to understand if you want to start unblocking your manifestation potential is this: heart coherence. This is a term coined by the Heart Math Research Center in California, where scientists conducted an amazing research into how the heart and the brain interact with each other. What they did is that they studied 3 groups of 10 individuals. The first group was instructed to produce strong, positive feelings like love and gratitude while holding vials containing DNA samples, actual vials with DNA in them. The second group did the exact same thing, but in addition to creating positive feelings, they held an intention to either wind or unwind the strands of DNA. The third group only held the intention without the positive emotion. Which group of the 3 do you think had an actual effect on the DNA samples? The groups that only held the intent or only produced the feeling had no statistically significant changes on the DNA. The group that both produced the positive feeling and held the intent had an actual statistically significant impact on the shape of the DNA samples by as much as 25%. So what this shows is that heart and mind working together can actually affect what we think of as a solid outside reality. So by extension, what you need to remember when you are trying to manifest is that you need to engage both your heart, produce a strong positive feeling, and also at the same time hold a similarly charged intent in your brain. Make them work together. Get it? This one's pretty important. This is the hack to broadcast your desire into the quantum field and then bring what you want into manifestation. The third thing is you ask yourself, what am I broadcasting to the quantum field on a daily basis? We saw that on a conscious level, it's the combination of thought and feeling. But the additional component here is what's happening on the subconscious level. This is what often gets overlooked and ignored in the manifestation paradigm. In a previous video on manifestation, I talked about how we need to reprogram our subconscious beliefs in order to be a vibrational match for what we're wanting to manifest. In my other video, Shadow Work, I talked extensively about how certain subconscious programming running on a loop in the parts of the brain that we don't have access to prevent us from drawing in the reality we want. I highly, highly recommend that you watch these two videos, and you can also check out the meditation I did on unblocking self-worth that will help you start reprogramming the subconscious mind in ways that are beneficial to you. Dealing with unprocessed trauma, which we all have, which is a byproduct of socialization and parental conditioning, is a key component to being able to manifest better. The fourth thing is that is a major manifestation blocker is you being caught up in an endless cycle of stimulus reaction, stimulus reaction, stimulus reaction. One more time, stimulus reaction. The more you're constantly reacting in predictable ways to things that you think of as random outside circumstances, the harder it will be for you to manifest. The more you will think of yourself as the victim of the outside reality, the further away you will get from being an actual creator of reality. For example, say that you're constantly irritated by this one person who's doing this thing that irritates you, and you're always reacting in the same predictable manner, irritation. You were caught in a cycle of stimulus reaction, and your manifestation power is practically nil. Let's put it in more general terms. The more you become responsive rather than reactive to outside circumstances, the more you start co-creating with the universe, the more you will start to experience synchronicities and fortunate lucky incidents that will put you closer to what you're wanting to manifest. Response presupposes choice and co-creation. Reaction presupposes being ruled and totally at the mercy of what the external world is throwing at you. Which, if we want to take a notch deeper, there's no such thing as the external world throwing things at you. There's no external force outside of yourself doling out this or that reality. It is you manifesting it unconsciously from your human perspective, totally consciously from your higher self perspective, in order to find resolution and learn the lesson associated with this particular aspect that's coming up. The universe loves expansion. It insists on it. If you choose to not learn your lesson and keep reacting in the same patterns to the stimulus that you're being thrown, you're stuck. And by extension, the universe is stuck. If you start realizing your patterns and choosing your response to it, that's how you will unblock the energetics of your creator status and move forward on your journey. Good for you, good for the universe. Give up the idea that reality is this solid, heavy, unchangeable thing. The solidity of it is perpetuated by the thoughts you insist on thinking and the patterns of behavior that you insist on following. That's the old paradigm and has no application whatsoever on how this constantly changing universe or multiverse dances the beautiful dance of creation. Nothing is solid, nothing. Reality is constantly shifting, moment to moment. It is in a magical state of flux that responds to you and what you're thinking, feeling, and acting. It just responds. You're creating it. If you become the vibrational match of what you're wanting to attract, then this reality that already exists as an electromagnetic potential in the quantum field will be magnetized to you. So you choose. Stay the same person and attract the same reality, or change and attract the reality that you actually want. If you want the same outcome, that's cool. If you want a different outcome, then you better start reinventing yourself. I think I will stop here. There's enough food for thought in this video. I urge you to watch it again, because the better you process these ideas, the more ingrained they will become, and the more you will start manifesting your desires. It's like repetition. The more we repeat something, the more neurons and new neural pathways will be created. And that's how we will start acting differently and attracting the different reality that we actually want to manifest. As always, I'm sending you love. May all of you be happy. May all of you be peaceful. May all of you be liberated.